Gon' kick it off then. Whoa. Gon' kick it off then. It ain't a game, kick it off then. Whoa. So gon' kick it off then. Huh? What we talking about, it goes deep. Something to watch, even from the nosebleeds. The fans been waiting, anticipating for the whole week. Cause we making moves and breaking news, no time for cold feet. Don't confuse, you know the rules and that we play to win. You ain't prepared to take it, then I let the games begin. A man's world, but the ladies gon' be taking it. Not a trophy or an arm piece, unless we talking Lombardi. What's up?
The NFL season is over for 20 teams, extended for 12. Jameis Winston didn't even wait on ESPN to put out his own 30 for 30. He did it himself. Let me find out Eli Manning just wants to retire from the New York Football Giants. Cam Newton is in the lead for the Walter Payton Man of the Year honors by more than 220,000 votes. And for the first time in 10 years, the Patriots said bye to a bye week. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year as we come to another edition of WTF Too, Women Talk Football 2. We'll recap Week 17, look forward to the playoffs, and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the season, including Black Monday. I'm Latasha Miles, a.k.a. Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess of ESPN, the network, joined by my dope, talented, knowledgeable, lovely co-host. Let the folks know who you are.
What's up, good people? It's the one and only Shalika McCrimmon, also known as the Touchdown Tomboy. Man, oh man, I think we ready. I'm playoff ready. I'm new coach ready. What we doing? Take me there. Take me there.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting, very interesting, busy time of the year here in the NFL, no doubt. So now last week we did take a bye week ourselves. You know, we was on some number 1 and number 2 seed type of stuff ourselves, so we earned that. Now it was Christmas, families were in town for the holidays, etc. So yeah, we are picking things back up this week. So let's talk about what's going on here in the first quarter with the infamous, notorious Black Monday. Unfortunately, it's the day where NFL coaches are typically fired the day after the regular season ends on that Monday. But this is also a profession where, you know, finding another coaching job so immediately, so you can't really feel bad for these men. And for example, Ron Rivera, former coach of the Carolina Panthers, terminated earlier in December. But looks like the reports are saying that he'll be the next coach for the Redskins. And also, let's see, who else we got here? Pat Shurmur of the New York Giants fired. There's speculation going on with Doug Marrone. There's also speculation going on of Jason Garrett's termination, especially with his contract expiring in January. Then we got Dan Quinn of the Falcons, who's actually, it was announced that he's safe for next season. So yeah, lots of things going on here with this carousel, this coaching carousel here with this Black Monday. So what do you think of these moves so far, Touchdown Tomboy?
I'm going to be honest. I think everything that every coach that has been fired up until this point, I think, kind of earned it justly. Pat Shurmur has been the same Pat Shurmur that he was in Cleveland, the same record, 9-23. That does not say head coach material. You know, no playoff wins, not even going to the playoffs. I kind of feel like he was kind of the culprit that kind of just sent Eli Manning off the edge. And then when you look back at Freddie Kitchens, I think that Freddie Kitchens was, yes, a great quarterbacks coach, worked very well with my man Baker Mayfield. However, as a head coach, I just don't think he was there yet, you know. And this was his first coaching position. They did go 6-10, but I think he was just a little in over his head, in my personal opinion. And then, of course, you know, the great Ron Rivera, you know, and it looks like he's going to land on his feet much sooner than later, you know, because the Redskins are really eyeing him tight. And he, pretty much out of everybody, had one of the best records. You know, he was 76-63. He 4 times in the playoffs, okay? And then he won, he went to the Super Bowl once, of course, no wins there. And then, you know, Jay Gruden, of course, and Jay Gruden, you know, I don't even know how he had a job. And I think for me, the most interesting thing about this whole concept is how is it that Jason Garrett still has a job? I'm trying to figure out how Jason Garrett has a job I'm trying to figure out how Dan Quinn still has a job. And I think the most interesting thing to me is Matt Patricia. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of like, I think that much more people, some other people should be on the hot seat and not just the ones that were already fired. So that's just my take on it. What's been your take on this whole thing?
Yeah, from the start, I never agreed with the Ron Rivera move. I think that their season for the Panthers all boiled down to not having Cam Newton. I mean, you see they still didn't win a game with an interim coach down the stretch. Now, had he had a subpar record with Cam Newton, then come talk to me. But Rivera, the only really concern and issue that I have with Ron Rivera is sometimes he's a little bit too passive. I mean, Luke Kuechly has gotten up in his face before on a couple of occasions when he had been injured. And, Ron Rivera just kind of looked like nobody was even talking to him. He kind of ignored him. So sometimes he's just a little too passive for me. But we're talking about a 2-time coach of the year. Like you said, 3 divisional titles. He had a league MVP during his tenure, the Super Bowl appearance, which, by the way, even though he didn't win that Super Bowl, John Fox has gone to 2 Super Bowls, one with the Panthers. He didn't win either. And so, I don't think it should all boil down to Super Bowl wins necessarily. And he's revered overall by players and the Charlotte community. I like the change of scenery for Riverboat Ron. I like him in D.C. I think it's a great addition to them. He's been talking with Joe Gibbs. Looks like he's trying to groom him in as well. Now, Pat Shurmur, as you alluded to, now he had no business getting hired in the first place. Because the thing is, the Giants are looking for their 3rd coach in 5 years. Too bad their relationship with Tom Coughlin is frayed because the Jags fired him too, and it would have been great for a reunion. Now, Freddie Kitchens, he couldn't cook up a winning season, so he definitely had to go. Now, they should have kept Greg Williams anyway, to me, as Greg Williams had reestablished, made Cleveland really, really relevant again last year. And I know Hugh Jackson is somewhere laughing his tail off at the regression of Baker Mayfield, as he rightfully should. But I think this is ultimately just karma. Baker Mayfield getting up in Hugh Jackson's face last year when he got rehired by the Bengals. Them should have been keeping Greg Williams, as he's done a phenomenal job with the makeshift defense with the Jets. So I didn't like the Freddie Kitchens promotion, the internal promotion anyway. Felt like they should have kept Greg Williams. So, oh well, Cleveland. Once again, to me, this is just a lot of karma based off of some previous stuff with them. I was expecting way bigger things from Cleveland, all that talent on paper, and then it turned into a double-digit loss season once again. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that Cleveland in this whole decade, now that we're moving on to 2020, Cleveland never finished with a winning record as the 2019 season concluded. So, gosh, you just don't get much more subpar than that. Now, with Jason Garrett, I mean, yes, this is some family ties here with the in-law stuff. He was such a decent player with the Cowboys at one time, but this tenure should have been come to an end. Too much talent and too many subpar seasons for Garrett to stick around. He must have some good tea on Jerry Jones or something. And anybody who's even considering, I've seen Josh McDaniels' name float around again. Even considering interviewing him, you are playing with fire. You'll have him and he gonna quit on you in 17 minutes. So y'all really need to stop playing. Now, for the second quarter, on to some more positive parts of the season, some record-breaking performances here. Now, an eyebrow-raising one from Jameis Winston, but you got Lamar Jackson, who broke Michael Vick's record for single-season rushing yards. Christian McCaffrey became the 3rd player in the NFL history to finish with over 1,000 rushing yards and over 1,000 receiving yards, joining Roger Craig and Marshall Faulk. Michael Thomas broke Marvin Harrison's single-season receptions record, and Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's touchdown record. And speaking of touchdown tomboy, which one of these record-breaking performances are you most impressed with?
Now, I love Michael Thomas. I love Drew Brees. I love Lamar Jackson. But I think one of the hardest things to do is to get 1,000 yards rushing and receiving in the 1 year. It's only 3 people in the history of the whole National Football League that have ever been able to do it, and he's one of the 3. Mm-hmm. And those people, and so I'm most impressed with Christian McCaffrey by far. He's been all of the Carolina Panther offense this year. And I don't say that because I'm a Carolina Panther fan. I say it because it's true. Everything that Carolina has done this year has been through Christian McCaffrey. He has been the GOAT in terms of running backs, and the fact that he is so smart small, and nobody ever thought that he'd be able to run between tackles and offer as much as he has been able to offer to the Carolina Panthers is what makes him so special, because he's a small back. He's not a big back. He's very small. So, so for him to be able to put him in the same list with Marshall Faulk, like, to me, that's like humongous, okay? And that's not to take anything away from Lamar Jackson. That's not to take anything away from Drew Brees or Michael Thomas. I just see that as being much harder to do. And you got to be elite to be able to do that. And so I think that was the most challenging thing this year. And that's why my pick is Christian McCaffrey. What about you?
Well, I'm just so glad to have been around and witnessed all of these previous records established as well. The Vic moments, the Falk moments, Peyton Manning, and Marvin Harrison. So to see them again this season is truly an honor for an avid fan such as ourselves. So they're all equally impressive to me, the befores and the afters. And the only thing about the Christian McCaffrey thing, I just hate that it took place on a losing team this season. Like, I wish this would have happened with that magical 15-1 season. Like, that would have been so complete. Probably would have helped with the Super Bowl too. And then there were just so many other headlines surrounding his tremendous accolade. All the distractions of, Tepper coming in and firing Ron Rivera, and all the Norv Turner stuff, and the interim coach, and Cam not being there. And so I just feel like there's so much stuff that not took away from Christian McCaffrey. I just feel like his accolade is unfortunately overshadowed. Like, it's not getting its due justice because of the fact that Carolina didn't have the winning record and things like that. Now, Brees and Thomas, them doing it, winning the NFC South as well, which I predicted that they would do, and they did it for a second straight season, because I think that they're low-key mad about what happened in that game against the Rams. So I think they're just playing with the chip on their shoulder. So that's why what they did really doesn't surprise me as much. But the thing, Lamar Jackson, who was already a Heisman Trophy winner, I'm in a front runner for the MVP title too. So I think I'm going with Lamar, mainly because this is a guy that they said should have been a running back anyway, but he's also amassed some good stats this season throwing the ball. So there's no surprises to me again that Drew Brees did this. I think the fact that he's over 40, he's 40 years old and below sea level, pun intended, with his height compared to the offensive lineman is the bigger surprise to me. But as long as he's had Sean Payton, he's straight. This is what Drew Brees is going to do. Michael Thomas, again, the reason why also I'm not surprised with him, I mean, he's an incredible talent. But the thing is, I was actually more nervous because since he got that big contract this offseason, which he truly deserved, but those are usually associated with the big jinx of either falling off or getting bit by the injury bug. I mean, we've seen it before with Aaron Rodgers, the collarbone injury, Devontae Freeman, who got injured right after he got the big contract, and Joe Flacco just kind of fell off the face of the earth with the Ravens after he got that big contract. So I was pleasantly surprised that Thomas was safe and very grateful about it. But McCaffrey being the sole component of the offense in the absence of Cam, what he did was very commendable. But I just really also love the underdog story surrounding Lamar Jackson. Him waiting in the draft room similar to how Aaron Rodgers was, and his humble attitude and spirit. Them trying to completely redirect this man's position and his career. And plus, he's a lot more accurate than Michael Vick was. And he's only doing this in his second year. And this pains me to even give such credit to my divisional rival, who also kept my boys out of the playoffs. Dang it. But I'm just a realist, and I gotta keep it real, and so I have to tip my hat off to Lamar Jackson, and as much as that really, really hurts me. Now for your halftime entertainment, here's an audible to the touchdown tomboy. What you got?
All right. So I always have to ask my husband, and we do a lot of this football talk in this house. And so I asked him, I said, well, honey, what do you think I should do this week for halftime, okay? And he said, well, maybe you should talk to people about what is the real process of a completed pass, because that's been a lot of discrepancy this season about what's a completed pass, what's an incompleted pass, so on and so forth. So I had to pull up the rules, because I wanted to pull up the rules from the NFL so people would know exactly what it says. So I'm going to read the rules to you. So it says a player who makes a catch may advance the ball. A forward pass is completed by the offense or intercepted by the defense in the field of play at the sideline or in the end zone if a player who is inbounds So this is what you have to do to be considered to have a completed catch. Secures the ball, secures control of the ball in his hands or arms prior to the ball touching the ground. So that's been a big thing. B, touches the ground inbounds with both feet or with any part of the body other than the hands. And C, after A and B have been fulfilled, performs any act common to the game. Okay, what that means is you tuck the ball away, you extend forward, take an additional step, turn up field, or avoid or ward off an opponent, or maintains control of the ball as long as you're able to do that. Okay, so breaking that down, what that really means is basically you got to be able to secure the ball, right? And you got to be able to secure the ball without the ball hitting the ground. Number two, you have to be able to stay in bounds, okay? You have to get 2 feet in bounds, okay, in order for it to be a completed pass. Now, college football doesn't require that. College football only requires 1 foot in. But NFL, professional football requires that both feet be in, and that then as they say, you have to perform a football move. So that's a breakdown of what a completed pass has been. And I know that's been a big controversy this year. That's why I pulled up the rules to kind of display what should be a completed pass versus what should not be a completed pass. So there you have it. That's it for this week. On back to you.
And you're absolutely right, because with there being so much controversy, I mean, even look at how many times those plays have been reviewed, and you have to go to commercial. This play is under review. If it was a complete pass or incomplete pass, that's come up a lot, where they've been spending a lot of time really reviewing those things because it's such a crucial part of the game. So your timing was impeccable to discuss that, as it has been a big issue, a big back and forth, something that has been really, really evaluated several times throughout the season. So no doubt, thank you as usual for your knowledgeable and timely insight as we proceed to the third quarter here with the playoffs kicking off this weekend. So we have 4 teams on a bye, 8 teams playing, and 4 games. Now, Touchdown Tomboy, without picking game winners and predictions at the moment, who are you looking at to be the biggest potentials to upset the higher seeds?
Okay, so this was so hard. So I had to break it down to the divisions, okay? So in breaking it down to the divisions, there in the AFC, honestly, I couldn't just pick one team, because the Bills, even though the Bills are, like, I think they're a 4 seed or a 5 seed, they're actually a lot better than their record says, okay? And so I couldn't bet against the Bills. And crazy thing is the Titans are on the street. Like, the Titans are playing right now. And so it's hard for me to bet against them, because I think on any given Sunday, they can upset, the higher seeds. On any given Sunday when they're playing, when they got Derrick Henry running like that, and Ryan Tannehill surprisingly has been playing like, what's up with it? That's kind of crazy to me, because Ryan Tannehill didn't play like that before. So I don't know what happened, but needless to say, the Titans have been playing really good this season. So it's hard for me to bet against the Titans or the Bills. Now, in NFC, surprisingly, I've always thought that Seattle was a good team, but Seattle isn't my pick to be an upset team, because I'm never surprised when Seattle upsets teams. The one team that I have become very surprised at is because, for some reason, no matter how many injuries they get, they figure out a way to win week after week after week, and they're working on fumes right now. And that's the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm very surprised at them. I think on any given Sunday, they can get out there and they can take care of business. They've had injury after injury after injury, but somehow they keep finding a way to win. And so those are going to be my picks for upsets or surprises. What's your attitude about that?
It's interesting that you bring up Philly, because I have the opposite with them. I definitely see the Seahawks as an upset pick, and of course they face off against each other this week. And I really like Philly a lot, but I like Philly better with Nick Foles. And I think Philly needs Nick Foles, and Nick Foles needs Philly system-wise. Now, surprisingly, like you said, the thing about Wentz, which my only issue with Wentz has been him being so injury-prone. Like, I just wanted him to be healthy. He's actually threw for 4,000 yards, and he doesn't even have a receiver who has 500 of those yards. And that's the first time that's happened in the history of the NFL as well. So I think that's a very impressive, unique, but just as much impressive as it is unique stat that Carson Wentz delivered there. And then all the injuries that he's had in receiving, and also all the drop passes. So he could have actually had more. So kudos to him. But I definitely see the Seahawks as an upset pick. I mean, they're battle tested on the road, especially coming to the East Coast. They've got some wins there. They have Marshawn Lynch bike in the backfield. I really like that as well. And I really honestly feel like the weakest component, the main issue with the Seattle Seahawks is they truly are missing clock management, which is fixable. Personnel and stuff, when you have to go out and try to go sign personnel or injury and stuff, that stuff gets a little bit hard to fix, especially so late in the season. But you can fix your clock management. And I really feel like that's something that if they can get that straightened out, I really like them to make some noise in the playoffs. Now, plus, if they end up playing San Fran again, I'm not saying they will, but if it gets to that, they have familiarity with playing them twice in a year anyway. Plus, they've already won in San Francisco, and I'm sure they want to avenge that mental breakdown that they had at the 1 yard line on Sunday night with that false start, that untimely false start, which ultimately cost them the game. I mean, gosh, they struggle so much from that 1 yard line. I mean, this is deja vu. They're just like Bokeem Woodbine in the movie Life. They just can't get right. So just start from the 2 yard line, Seattle. Like seriously. So I like Seattle to maybe ruffle some feathers there at that 5 seed position, which they easily could have been a number 1 seed or number 2 seed and gotten a bye week as well. And like you had mentioned in the AFC, I like pretty much anybody that has to play the Patriots as a potential upset. New England, and I truly dislike New England, yes, but the thing is, at the end of the day, they're wobbling into this playoffs. They're extremely vulnerable. They have no bye week. They have no home field advantage. They have no heavy artillery in the receiving corps. And all this is just facts. So this has nothing to do with my dislike for New England. This is all facts. They're playing in a wild card weekend, which hasn't happened at all in this past decade. And anybody that they played in the playoffs is either a divisional opponent who is already familiar with them, i.e. the Bills, as you have mentioned, that could make some noise, or the other teams that they're playing in the playoffs, at least in the AFC side of it, if they do get to the Super Bowl, they've already been beat by them. They've been beat by the Chiefs, they've been beat by the Ravens, and they've been beat by the Texans. All three of these teams are in the playoffs. And if they play Baltimore again, they'd have to travel to Baltimore again. And if they play Kansas City, they're going to have to go to Kansas City. And now I know they beat Kansas City in that conference championship game last year, but this was also a non-Steve Spagnuolo defensive coordinated Kansas City team as well, whose defense is getting hot at the right time. Also, the other thing is they're going against coaches who used to be on the coaching staff, i.e. Romeo Crennel, who already drew up a defensive plan to defeat them earlier this season. And they play against Mike Vrabel this weekend and the Titans. Oh, by the way, Matt Patricia and the Lions beat the Patriots last year. Of course, he came from being a defensive coordinator with them. So having a familiarity aspect of it has definitely been in the favor of those other teams as well. So any and all other 5 teams in the AFC have a legitimate shot to dethrone the champs. And that was a perfect segue to the fourth quarter with the 4 playoff games this wild card weekend. The Bills at the Titans Saturday at 4:35. The Titans at the Patriots that same Saturday at 8:15. Then on Sunday we have the Vikings at the Saints at 1:05 p.m. And the Seahawks at the Eagles at 4:40. And these are all Eastern Standard Times on these games. Now, Touchdown Tomboy, who do you have in these games and why?
Well, I've been really unimpressed with the Vikings. I don't know. It's like they've lost their moxie. They came out swinging, and then they lost their moxie. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of just did something to me. So, of course, this week in the wild card, I'm going to pick the Saints. And then it depends on which Seattle comes to show up, okay? Because Seattle, they lost to the Cardinals, which they shouldn't have done. I mean, I get that they're division rivals and stuff like that. It's like they dropped the ball, and I know that they had some pretty serious injuries in that game too. And then it's like, I don't know. So I think it's going to really depend on which Seattle shows up. Now, if the Seattle that I think really wants to do a playoff contention shows up, they'll probably dust the Eagles. Mm-hmm. However, the question is who is it going to show up? So I don't know. It's hard for me to pick that game. But if I had to pick, based upon, I don't know. It's hard for me to pick. So I can't pick a winner. You're telling me I got to pick a winner. Then I'm going to go with, I guess I got to go with the Seahawks. Simply because I'm going to go with the Seahawks simply because I don't know who else Carson Wentz is going to throw to. Like, Zach is now hurt, and I just don't know what they're going to do. They're on that third string that Scott got it, running back. And so they just got too many injuries. I mean, just injury. I don't think they can take any more hits and not go down. It's just been a disaster in terms of injuries this year with them. So, and for that reason and that reason alone, and the fact that Seattle got Beast Mode back, who looked actually pretty good on Sunday. I mean, I was pretty excited about seeing him. He came back with his energy and his truck full of Skittles. So that was all great, and I was happy to see that. So I'm going to pick Seattle in that game. In terms of the AFC, I'm actually going to pick the Tennessee Titans to upset New England. And I'm going to the Bills and the Texans. Man. Okay, I really can't pick that one, so I'm going to let you pick that. Anyway, let's go forward.
Fair enough. And I like all the home teams in this in the wild card weekend, except the Eagles, for some of the reasons I mentioned earlier about how Seattle has really done well traveling east, how they've done on the road. They have more than just East Coast road wins. But like you said, though, Seattle can easily hiccup and be like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type thing. You never know which Seattle that you're going to get. But in addition to the injuries and the growing pains that the Philadelphia Eagles are experiencing, the in and outs of even like a Lane Johnson being in and out of the lineup, it's so inconsistent, which that doesn't mean Philly's a bad team because of that, but I'm saying because of the fact that they can't keep a consistent personnel on either side of the ball, I think is a flaw for them. And so going back to, they're getting some health and strength back too, but again, even though they're getting some of it back, it's not consistent. This is not a consistent lineup here, and that may play in their favor a little bit. If Seattle's been looking at film, they don't have consistent film with the personnel to look at either. But in addition to that, the thing about Philly is their playoff entrance was held in the balance until week 17. I mean, it was on some to be determined. It was on some we finna see, speaking ebonically. And I just think that because it wasn't already fulfilled, it was kind of like, okay, still if you win, you're in. Where Seattle it was already known that Seattle was going to the playoffs. So some of their play had already been kind of playoff tested, like, okay, we already know we're in the playoffs, we just don't know what seed we're in. But Philly was just, we really don't even know if we're going to the playoffs. So the uncertainty factor, I don't like for Philly going into this game either. And again, the thing about Seattle is I think that they are very, very disappointed and low-key irked because that false start cost them so much, the bye week, the division title, and a home game. So I think they're kind of going in with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder, just automatically programmed. And I saw something really, really funny where somebody was saying that, Seattle had been spending so much time in the end zone dancing this season, but they forgot to choreograph a win against San Francisco. And I just got so tickled by that. But I think, again, that they're going to try to avenge it this week because I think they want a rematch with San Fran, too. And I hope they don't look at this as a trap game and overlook Philly. But I think that they want a piece of San Fran again in San Fran for round 3 to kind of like another Carolina and Duke that we've had in recent years. Like when they meet each other again and have met each other again in the ACC tournament. I kind of think that that's the way that we might be leaning towards of seeing maybe another Seattle and San Fran rematch some point in time in these playoffs. Not guaranteeing it, but I think that's what Seattle is wanting. I think that's for viewership purposes too. That might be what the country wants as well. So I'm looking at them to avenge that loss. Now with Tennessee that you had mentioned, I want, hope, and pray that Tennessee wins, and I think it'll be close. But the realistic part of me, I think the Super Bowl champs will get at least one playoff win. Again, I hope that they don't, even though I like the familiarity for Coach Mike Vrabel. But at the end of the day, I think this, especially with playoff football in January, I think that the teacher, Coach Belichick, beats the student in this one. And I like the Saints and Vikings, the Saints over the Vikings, at home. And as much as I want the Bills to end this playoff win drought, I still think that the is JJ Watt playing too? Is JJ Watt coming back?
I don't know. I haven't heard. I thought that he's supposed to make the postseason, so I don't know. I'll look for that.
Yes, I think if JJ Watt plays, Allen's he's not a rookie, but he's still a young quarterback. I think Romeo Crennel, especially if they have JJ Watt, I think Romeo Crennel will really throw a lot of design blitzes to confuse him. He might even have JJ Watt kind of drop back in coverage where Allen might be expecting him to come off the line. I think that he might even have some linebackers come off the end, kind of how like Dick LeBeau used to draw up plays for James Harrison. So I'm really, really expecting a heavy dose of confused design defensive plays from Romeo Crennel over over Allen in this particular game. Again, I would not be mad at the Bills loss. I like a lot of the underdog stories, but I really want Deshaun Watson, who got hurt last year. I want him to excel and go deep and go far too. So it's definitely something to keep an eye out on with the JJ Watt radar there for sure. Now for our overtime segment, some notes and news here. This Saturday, January 4th, will mark a melancholy 5th anniversary of the death of the beloved Stuart Scott, who, of course, ESPN has not been the same since his untimely departure. In fact, none of us have been the same with, that unfortunate passing. But it's crazy. It's been 5 fast years that Stuart Scott. Yes, it's 5 years will be this weekend here. And then we got J.K. Dobbins. He's leaving Ohio State as the single season top rusher to enter the draft. Haven't heard anything about him hiring an agent yet. Probably not at this moment. It's so early. The draft isn't until April. But yeah, he announced earlier on Monday that he's leaving Ohio State, but he'll forever be a Buckeye. But he definitely wants to test the waters there in the NFL draft. Kind of can't blame him. He had a tremendous season, and kind of with so many changes that may be coming for Ohio State in the offseason, and then with them losing like they lost and that in Clemson's comeback win on Saturday night, kind of can't blame them. And then look, if you need a helpful tip on when to change the air filter in your furnace, especially with January coming in this time of year. But if you need a helpful tip on when to change that air filter, just change it every time the Browns fire a coach. So yeah,
I know they have gone through so many coaches over there.
Crazy, isn't it crazy? It's my goodness.
I think they said this is the 5th coach in 6 years. It's crazy.
Unbelievable. That sounds about right. I thought the Giants were bad for 3 and 5 years, but yeah, Cleveland definitely has them beat. I don't know how they expect to have any solid foundation when there's so, that's part of the reason why I think Colin Kaepernick ended up struggling so much, was because when Harbaugh left, and then they had the other coaches, last name started with a T, they only had him for 1 year. They changed the some of the front office positions. Then they got all these different offensive coordinators. You cannot expect someone to exceed when there's so many changes in and out. And I think that's part of the reason why Eli probably wants to leave the Giants, is because there's no continuity. Because he said he ain't said for sure that he wants to retire from the league. He just said his time's over with the Giants. So I think Eli just fed up too. It's too many changes. So I don't know. It's definitely something to watch too. But Touchdown Tomboy, do you have anything you want to add in the overtime segment?
No, man. Just been happy New Year to everybody, man. Y'all stay safe out in these streets. I'm praying for the people in Texas who are injured in the church shooting. Man, it's a sad day. You know, you can't even go to church and not get shot at. Like, it's very sad. And so the prayers up for them and all the people all over the world. I hope everybody has a wonderful new year.
Absolutely. Definitely Happy New Year to everyone. Hoping that 2020 is filled with lots of prosperity, health, and wealth. And you're right, it's sad you can't even go to church, or like the incident that happened closer to home for us in Concord, North Carolina, where the 13-year-old girl got shot at the Dave and Buster's at a local mall. So yeah, it's a sad time there where you can't even have those just moments of going to church, going to the mall, hanging out with friends without worrying about getting shot and killed. So yeah, everyone, please be safe. Enjoy. Best wishes. We thank you all for the love and support. Be sure you follow us on all social media platforms. Even though the regular season has ended and the playoffs are starting, still keep expecting a lot more from WTF Too, Women Talk Football Too. We got a lot more on the horizon. So we're just kind of getting started. It's kind of like the first season that we've really been able to do this. I'm very proud of what we've done, and very grateful to you, Touchdown Tomboy. But overall, I'm very proud of what what we've done. Like, we really, really know our stuff. So I'm very grateful to you as well. And I'm really, really extremely grateful and appreciative of you. And your efforts and your contributions. Could not do this without you, because I mean, it's called Women Talk Football Too, so we definitely have to have at least two of us, so definitely grateful to you, Touchdown Tomboy, and much best wishes to you in 2020 and beyond, as I know you got some big things that you're working on as well. So congratulations, good for you, and again, thank you.
All right, thanks. And as always, I'm really proud. I'm happy to have been able to do this for one complete season. And it's funny because I feel like there were moments where it was tough, but it was one thing that I look forward to every week.
Right.
Is what are we going to talk about this week? And I feel like that was just that we get 50 minutes or 40 minutes to just chop it up and talk football and actually get each other's perspective. And, a lot of times it was after we turned, we stopped recording and turned the show off, we were still talking about football for hours. So it's kind of like, like what you see is what you get. Like, this is who we really are. This is what we like to do. And I mean, it's just been a pleasure. I've had a wonderful time doing it. Nothing but fun. I don't regret a moment of it. It's all been just bliss. So, hats off to you as well. So
thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, we need like an after show, like a post game. We like a post game report ourselves from after the show. Because you're right, we do go on beyond hit and stop. So yeah, definitely. So awesome stuff. Really, really grateful. Appreciate you. So we thank you all so much as well for tuning in, for the feedback, the commentary, the support, the love. Even sometimes you guys are like, you need to talk about this, or oh, true, or no, when did it happen, or what. All of that is really, really, it's not overlooked. It does not go unnoticed. So thank you guys so much. The posts that we have and all the confrontation and arguments that you guys have, thanks so much. That helps when we're able to incorporate that into the shows and stuff as well sometimes. So yeah, so thank you all so much. And again, to the unsung hero, Touchdown Tomboy, as well. Appreciate you. So this is going to wrap up another edition of WTF 2, Women Talk Football 2, with the Touchdown Tomboy and the Gridiron Goddess. Happy New Year to everyone, and we'll catch you next week. We're out.